Hi, friends. Welcome to Lotus and the Light. My name is Jennifer, and welcome to another episode of High Vibe Diet. Okay, I have no idea where this message is going to take us. What I can tell you is that when I first fell asleep last night, I was awakened with a message. I pulled my phone out, didn't even have my glasses on. I'm like, I'm just typing it in here because I'm too tired to do anything else. So I'm trying to type without really being able to see it. I'm like, man, I hope this comes through because I know I won't remember it in the morning. And I didn't. And I was reading it in the morning and I'm like, what? What does this say? And then it finally clicked with me. Um, Anyway, the message is remove the I have tos from your diet. This is a lofty goal that I will say, even myself, I have not fully digested and adopted this idea in my life, but I have started to, and I can tell you that it 100% works and is true. Um, based on my lived experience and my belief systems. So again, this idea that we have to do anything in life is a myth, a 100% myth. And some of you are saying, hi, I have to work. I have to put food on the table. I have to. So I get that. And that's why I'm saying this one is really difficult to integrate into your life and into your belief system. But at minimum, it will help you if you set this idea as the goal. It will help you identify along the way the things that you have been believing, that again, the things that you have fully digested and metabolized into your being as truth that perhaps doesn't need to be in your life any longer and that you can release, okay, until you ultimately get to there. And that's the process that I'm going through right now. So I actually do believe, and I'll explain myself further in a second, but I can say that I actually do believe that we truly do not have to do anything in this life, that we are 100% supported by spirit. Spirit will always give us that guidance to provide for us. There's always a way and always another way, right? And so when we get caught up in this idea that it has to be this way, I have to do this, I have to work this job that I don't enjoy because it pays the bills. That is just a belief system that we have bought into. And I love, if you aren't familiar with Suzanne Giesman, I love how she says it. Belief systems are BS. So you have some BS in your life that you've been buying into, um, that oftentimes limit us in our life. So where are we going with this, spirit? Let me just tap in here. Maybe I'll talk to you a little bit about the examples in my life of how this has played out and how I've started to explore a different belief system that says I don't have to do these things that I think that I have to do. And that there, in fact, not only do I not have to do these things, but there's actually a better way if we tune into spirit. And it's what I'm saying isn't that we don't have to do anything. We just be lazy and sit on the couch the whole rest of our lives. That's not what I mean either. Well, we can, right? We can. If we want to manifest that, you'll find somebody to be your sugar mama or your sugar daddy or whatever that'll put food on your table so that you can do exactly that. I will say I don't believe that's what we're here to do. We are here as creators. We're here to create a life. We're here to create an experience, and we're here to learn and grow from those experiences. And we will learn and grow even if you don't see that growth and learning happening in the physical sense. Our soul is learning and growing no matter what choices we're making. Okay. So, um, but without understanding, sometimes we put ourselves in a box in terms of what we think we can do. And when I say what we think we can do, we live by laws, right? We live by rules, if you will. Some of them are legal laws of our land, right? Some of them are scientific laws or laws of the universe. Some of them are arbitrary laws that society has put on us or that our culture has ingrained in us. So, for example, is it a law that anything that's worth having has to be worked hard for? Is that true? That's some people's experience, but it's not everybody's experience. Or I'll just leave it at that one example. Okay, so I started challenging this idea that I know the best way and that I have to apply my conscious brain needs to apply logic to make sure that and reason to make sure that things get done the way they're supposed to get done. That's the way we tend to operate, right? But that has a blatant disregard for the higher mind that has a broader perspective. So a few months ago, I started really putting this to the test. I was of the mind that I have had ADD my whole life. My two sons had it. I wasn't diagnosed with it until my oldest son was diagnosed with it. Back then, he's in his 30s now. So back then, I believed that ADD was, looked like a kid bouncing off the walls and, all full of energy. And that wasn't my son. So when he did get diagnosed, and it was his teacher that suggested I went and talked to a doctor about it and have him tested. She said, he's not bouncing off the walls. He's not being disruptive. He's just in his own mind. He's all up in here and he's not paying attention. Um, and so when he got tested and diagnosed, I realized, wow, I have this. Like my mind's always going 100 miles a minute, and it's very rarely in the direction of whatever I'm supposed to be paying attention to, right? But I was never diagnosed, and I just learned how to cope. Okay. And so um, I was resistant to putting him on medication, but eventually I realized the need and the value of it, and I did, and it was helpful, and so on and so forth. And then fast forward to now, what I'm starting to realize is that when spirit has a better way, they will divert my attention. They will try to redirect me. And when I force myself back over here to this thing that I think is what I need to be focused on, that is what I believe would be diagnosed as ADD. Like you need to be here, but you keep moving over here. And now I'm realizing it as a spiritual redirection. So as I started to pick up on this a few months ago, I said, I'm going to put this to the test. And so I have, multiple projects that I'm working on for work, and they have different deadlines, and they're all important in their own right. And most of them are customer facing. So um, it's not okay to not finish one on time because then that affects a customer meeting, right? It's a presentation that we're going to give to a customer. I can't just not do it, right? But I decided to put this to the test, and I had a week where my schedule's full of meetings. I have very little time to work on the projects that I have, and I have several projects. I'm pretty good at having boundaries around my personal time. I've learned that over the years after giving a ridiculous amount of hours to my career and missing out on family and missing out on joy and fun. And I learned over the years that that's not healthy. So I do have pretty good boundaries around my work time. And sometimes I'm willing to give over and above. It all balances out, right? Sometimes I have to give a little extra hours this week, but then maybe I make up for it this week. Okay, so it all balances out. But this week I said, no, I'm gonna keep within the boundaries that I've set for my time, and I'm just going to follow spirit. And but with that, I'm going to follow spirit's guidance, meaning if it's 8 o'clock at night and I feel inspired to work on a work project, I'm not going to say, nope, that's out of the rigid bounds that I set. I'm going to say, spirit's guiding me to work on this project, and I'm going to go work on the project. Okay. So I wanted to stay within the healthy boundaries of like the work-life balance, but I wanted to do it in a more fluid way instead of this rigid, it has to be 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 or 9 to 7 or whatever. Right. And allow for spirit to guide me and find the balance from my higher mind that has the broader perspective. So with that, I'm working a very healthy amount of hours, not too much, not too little. I'm operating as I feel inspired, but I notice that logic would say work on the it's Monday, work on the project that's due Wednesday. And then when that one's done, you work on the project that's due Friday. And then when that one's done, you work on the project that's not due till the end of next week. Okay. That's the logical way to work things. And so I start on Monday to work on the thing that's due on Wednesday, and my ADD kicks in, right? And I'm like, I've got all these inspired ideas around this other project that's the one that's the furthest away due, right? Furthest away due. And I've got all these inspired ideas about it. And it's the one I want to work on. So I could go I don't have ADD medicine, but I'm just giving you perspective. I could go take my pill that controls my neurological responses, that allows me to focus on what I need to focus on, and I could do that first project first. But instead, or I could just, again, because I don't actually have ADD medication, I could just dig my heels in and say, no, we're doing this, and torture myself for hours, because that's what it feels like. I know I've been doing it for 30, 40, 50 years, right? But instead I said, okay, spirit, I hear you. I'm going to work on this other project instead, and trust that either you're going to open up the time in my calendar to finish the Wednesday project, or you're going to remove the Wednesday project altogether. You're going to do something, and I'm not even going to try to figure it out. I'm just going to trust. And I did that. And one by one, meetings started dropping off my calendar. One of those projects, and I can't remember if it was the Wednesday one or the Friday one, completely got pushed back 2 full weeks. And that one was the one that was like the day before. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have not even started this. And the meeting is tomorrow morning, and I might have to pull an all-nighter. And then guess what happened? I literally pushed it all the way up that far. And I'm like, afternoon of the day before I have to present this information. This was internal, not customer facing. The day before I have to present this information internally, and I haven't even started it. I had started it, but I had like bare bones, and I hadn't continued it since I started this test, right? This new trial thing I'm doing. Um, so it's 10% done, 10% done, maybe 15%. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, that meeting gets pushed 2 full weeks. And that would have been one that I was prioritizing over that third one. It literally all worked out I didn't have to put in any extra hours. I didn't have to create any extra stress in my life to hurry up and get things done. It literally worked out exactly the way you would think if you believed that spirit was saying work on this one first. Why would you believe that if it's on the schedule last? Unless spirit knows something my conscious mind doesn't know. And that was the lesson, is that I don't have to do it in this order. I don't have to do anything really, right? But when I choose to examine why I think I have to do anything, I start discovering it's like that's what's peeling back the layers of the onion. And I start discovering the stressors that I'm adding to my life unnecessarily. Now, let's be honest. 6 months before that, even 2 months before I tried that little exercise, I never would have tried that. I wouldn't have believed it was possible. And if you don't believe it's possible, if your belief system can't support it, then don't take the leap. And the reason I say that is I had to be a vibrational match. My energetic frequency had to be a match for these meetings moving and had to be a match for meetings falling off my calendar. There's another reality at a different vibrational frequency where those meetings stayed on the calendar and where those projects stayed in the exact order. And that vibrational frequency was where I was at before. And when I decided to take the leap of faith, my energetic frequency was aligned to it. I believed it was possible and I was just putting it to the test, but I really did already believe. And all the barriers that would come up during the day and during that week that were like, oh no, that would bring that little bit of tension in your body. When your body or your stomach starts to feel sick or whatever, I could immediately and neutrally, without a bunch of negative emotion, address that and say, what am I believing right now that has me starting to stress about this? Can I overcome that? And I was able to, and I was able to stay in the exercise. I was able to stay in the little test, the little spiritual quiz, and complete it successfully because I continued to be an energetic match for it. Even when these old energies, these old patterns of behavior, and these old patterns of belief were creeping up, I was able to say, no, I don't believe that anymore. And it would go away. So I had to be an energetic match for it. So if you're saying, I don't know about this, then you may not be an energetic match for it, but start paying attention in your day. And this is where I'm at now because like I 100% know, I'll tell you the things I do believe. I 100% know that I don't belong in corporate America. That's why my career is like this. I'm like in corporate America, out of it, in, out, in, out. Because I come out because I know at a spiritual level I don't belong there. And then I come back in because my belief system isn't at the place yet where I can sustain the lifestyle I desire without I have attached myself to corporate America as the means to supporting the lifestyle I want and need. I'll say it that way. And I'm working through my beliefs about that so that I can come to a place where I fully believe and know that I can be financially supported doing the work that I am here to do, doing my life's mission work, and be fully, and that may mean the work pays me enough. It might mean I don't know, I win the lottery. It doesn't matter how. That conclusion I've come to. I trust spirit. I know that I don't have to figure out the how. Um, but so I have a belief that, yeah, I don't belong to corporate America. I have a belief that, yes, spirit will fully support me in this when I'm a vibrational match to it. But I also have these other beliefs that creep up that keep me from taking that leap and therefore make me not quite yet that energetic match for it. And I can hear other people will be watching this saying, yeah, you're not an energetic match because you just said you weren't. So what I will say is I am. I am an energetic match for it, but it's about your overall collective what's what I'm looking for here. It's about I'm going to call it your average energetic frequency, right? What is that frequency that you exhibit most? And we're constantly, or often we're between different frequencies, right? We're coming out of one and into another. And it's like, where are you more heavily leaning? And I'm finding my way. I'm starting to tip the scales leaning into that higher energetic frequency. So it's just still a journey for me. And I'm discovering the things that I've been believing and slowly one by one addressing those and removing those from my story. I get to write my story. Okay. I get to choose what I believe. And so do you. And that's, I think I'll make a separate video on this, but this ties a lot into law. When we stop living by law, I don't want to say stop living by law, when the law is complete within us, then we live by love. And that's a whole different frequency, a whole different vibe. So I'm on that continuum, right? I'm on that journey. And so I saw in real life that this works out the way it's supposed to. When it worked out that time, I repeated it. I repeated it with this big major project for a big important customer of ours. And I said, I'm just going to trust that timing is going to make it work out, that I'm going to get this done before I go to New Zealand. And it wasn't getting done, and it wasn't getting done, and it wasn't getting done, and it wasn't getting done. But instead of stressing, I just continued to trust. And it got to the point where we were a couple days out from my vacation, my 2-week vacation. And I'm like, I think I'm going to be working like for the whole 24 hours of travel to New Zealand. I think I'm going to be working on this project. I'm going to have to be. Um, and what happened? The trip got pushed back. The trip, I didn't, that wasn't in my line of sight. I really thought I was going to be pulling a 24-hour project effort on a really important project. And I was just trusting. It wasn't that I was slacking as an employee. I cared. I was just trusting. And here the whole trip gets pushed back. And it would have taken me well more than 24 hours. It did. It took me another week and a half to do that project. And that was a week and a half of a clear schedule because I was supposed to be on vacation. So all my meetings had been pulled off my calendar. Like I had a clear calendar, and it still took me more than a week to do that project justice. But I never once stressed about it. I really put my full trust in spirit, and it's so relieving. It's such a weight lifted. So I'm going to circle back and say, what is it in your life? Start making note. Maybe have a journal and start journaling the I have to's. I have to work this job that I hate. Why? Why does it have to be that job? What do you believe that is locking you into that one that's preventing you from finding something that would bring you more joy? But what's the difference between one you're doing and one that would bring you more joy? Do you not have the experience? Do you not have the opportunity? Does it not pay enough? What are you believing? And how do you start to reshape and reframe your beliefs about that so that this other job becomes an opportunity for you? Or maybe you think, I have to take care of all these things in my family that are totally stressing me out, and they're all on my back because if I don't do it, nobody will do it. Or if I don't do it, this person will do it, and they're not going to do it right. And and we put that burden on ourselves. Or I have to do this at, in the ministry at my church because there's not enough people, and 20% of the people do 80% of the work, and, and I have to do it. I'm telling you, these I have to's are false narratives and beliefs that you have sold yourself. And the moment that you say, that's not bringing me joy. And that's the indicator, right? That is what spirit has taught us should be the indicator of where we belong, is where we feel the most joy. So in any day, in any circumstance, say to yourself, what would bring me the most joy right now? And then if you're not willing to do that, start asking yourself why. Why am I not willing to do this thing that would bring me the most joy? Okay. I'm going to leave it right there, but I'm hopeful that this resonated for some of you. And I know I was speaking in a lot of energetic terms and things that, again, I'm just going to trust that you heard what you needed to hear and understand what you need to understand wherever you're at energetically, because we're all in different places. I'm going to close with, I believe, this one I'm closing with, Spirit in Oracle. Actually, I kind of feel called again. We just did a Sacred Rebels. I'm feeling called again to Sacred Rebels. Maybe there's room for both. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so let's just get a shuffle here. And ask Spirit. Okay. Spirit, as we start to discover things in our lives that we feel like we have to do. This one really flew out. What is something, what do we need to know about that? Is what I'll say. Okay. And the card that we pull is receiving. Receiving. It's a 27, breaks down to a 9. It means we're completing a cycle, right? And we're starting to enter into a 10 is the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new cycle. So we're completing a cycle, perhaps a cycle of belief here, completing that cycle. And something's going on with the throat chakra here. So what's the message here? We're completing a cycle in our life's journey that perhaps has us tied to a bunch of I have to's. And so how do we find our way out of that? And it's this right here. It's receiving the nourishment of spirit, receiving the wisdom of spirit, receiving the protection of spirit, receiving the promises of spirit, receiving the prosperity that spirit wants to offer you. Okay. This is all, you know, this to be true deep, deep on the inside. We all do. And we have to truth right now, as most of us live it. Sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand, 27. Truth as we live it right now is being filtered through our conscious mind. And it filters a lot of the truth out. It filters out the good big chunks. If we go back to the solid food or spiritual milk that Paul talks about, right? Our conscious mind filters out chunks and chunks of truth and leaves us with these little itty bitty sprinkles that get through the filter that are hints at full divine truth. So they're not untrue, but a lot of times they're distorted because they're not in full perspective. So find your truth in here, unfiltered from this, and allow yourself to receive that truth. I'm going to read this right now. You're so loved. Your every need is witnessed and responded to by the universe. Your every need, even the needs that you think I have to do this to gain this or achieve this, it's already met by spirit. However, sometimes you forget this. You become swept up in the momentum of habitual consciousness, and you forget to take a moment to stop, breathe, and be. In that moment, you can receive the love of the universe that is receiving you. It will nourish you with contentment and energy. You have not done this enough, so your soul is becoming parched and drying out. I like to call it burnout. Energy has been going out of you, but there's not enough coming back in. It's time to bring something back in for you, to receive and be received. You are being offered a chance for restoration now, to feel nourished, cared for, and loved. Accept it. You deserve it. The healing process below will help you surrender any guilt or shame you feel for having needs in the first place. It will also help you to overcome any struggle that you have receiving and accepting so that your needs can be met. Do you know how much joy the universe gains from being able to give to you? When you delight in what you receive, when you openly embrace a gift and are so happy with it, the universe is fully received by you. In this space, there is joyful communion between you and light. Energy flows more freely and magic happens. That's what happened to me. I put that to the test and I said, okay, Spirit, I'm trusting you. And Spirit delighted in the opportunity to show me a different truth, something different than what I've been believing, something more complete. When you demur saying you cannot accept, I'm not sure what that word means. When you demur saying you cannot accept that it is too great a gift or that you're not worthy, you are impeding that flow. Or when you say it's not possible, or when you say life isn't that easy, or things aren't supposed to come that easily to me, you inhibit the flow when you think those things. You're inhibiting the communion, the connection, the playful interaction between you and the universe. Enough with the false modesty and guilt. You are a radiant sun in human clothing. An exquisite life experience is your birthright. Enjoy it. Soak it up, all of it, including the restoration of sacred rest. From that place of nourishment, you will more effortlessly create, live, and love with greater energy and thriving, pulsing passion. The earth rests each night so it can greet the sun again each morning with the spectacular living art of sunrise. Allow yourself to switch off, step away, close the laptop, switch off the phone, and just be with yourself for a while. You will return and be more efficient and more effective. And that is also what I found when even though I have less time, sometimes spirit just drops in the great ideas and drops in the nuggets of wisdom that allow me to get the work done in less time and as good as or better than what I would have done on my own. Rest now, play now, and work later. Forget your worries for a while. Switch off. Do something else. Let it all go, and it will all flow. And the healing process says, say aloud, I release all false guilt and shame about having needs and all false beliefs about rest being wasteful and unnecessary. We just talked about that actually in the last stillness video. I accept healthy, productive, sacred rest and the gifts of happiness that it brings. I understand that rest and activity balance feed, and nourish each other. There's a sacred healing that happens through rest, which is very powerful. I accept and receive this now through unconditional love. This is now so. And I love how they end with, this is now so, meaning I'm accepting this belief, I'm ingesting it, and I'm digesting it, and I'm allowing it to become fully embodied within me. I love that. Okay. That's it, folks. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And I hope that Spirit spoke right into your soul. Peace out.